Welcome to everyone to another session of our community conversations. This is the Technomatics Virtual User Group. And today we have another Python topic for you, which has been quite popular. So this one, Stefan will be showing us how to access plant simulation in web applications using Python. So it's very useful. As you all know, our speaker for today is Stefan Bongso. He's traveling, but still kept the schedule to do this session with us, so we definitely appreciate that. As you probably know, he's been in this simulation space for decades now and has done hundreds of projects and training sessions. He has 5 books published. He's working on his 6th book, and he's definitely one of our leading contributors for the Siemens PLM community. So today, the big 3 steps for this session are configuring the HTTP server, creating a front-end web page for this use case, and then writing some back-end CGI Python scripts. So this will be very different than some of the other programming or coding that we normally see for these sessions. As always, Stefan will be presenting live, so we'll keep track of that, and I'll be checking the comments. But the actual Q&A will be after the presentation. So you do have the option to raise your hand using the button in the middle, it should be the middle top of your screen. And we can take you off mute so that you can ask a question verbally. But feel free to use the chat during the presentation as well, because we will go through those questions when we get to the live Q&A. So that is all I have for an introduction. So Stefan, feel free to steal the screen.
Okay, Python web application. First, a short definition. A web application is an application, a software application that runs on a web server and is accessed by users through a web browser over the internet or intranet. So we have, if we want to control plant simulation through this, we have 3 parts. We have a front end, normally a web page, HTML, and to the front end, we make a request to HTTP server. And on the HTTP server, we have a backend. And this backend program needs to communicate with plant simulation. So the first question or first selection is which kind of server we want to use. I have placed here several possibilities we have that we can use to create our web application. And this is, we need to keep on Windows. This is very important. And so the selection is limited. These are the most used web servers in Windows. We have the Microsoft Internet Information Services. This is quite useful if you have already a Microsoft server in your company. Then normally also the Microsoft Information Services are installed already. Then we have the Apache HTTP server. This is available under Windows also. It's free of charge, and it's used for more than 2 decades, and it's up to date. And then we have some new HTTP servers, the Slide TPD, and Chatty and Nginx. And each of these web servers has 1 or several integrated programming languages. This is for the Internet Information Services, is ASP.NET or C#.NET or PHP. For the Apache server, it's PHP and TCL. And there is one project in this Apache server, it's Apache Tomcat, and there you have Java Server Pages, JSP, as the first programming language. And then we have the new ones, and there you have the languages Lua, Java for the Eclipse Jetty server, and also for Nginx is Lua as programming language. And here you see none of these servers are providing Python as a first integrated programming language. And if we want to use Python, then we need to go another way instead of using one of these integrated programming languages. And this is called Common Gateway Interface, CGI or Fast CGI. This is for non-native supported programming languages. There's one step more. We have a front end as a web page. Then the request goes to a HTTP server. And then this HTTP server hands over the data to a CGI program. This is an external program, and this external program returns HTML code. And Python runs on most of the HTTP servers as a CGI script. And this CGI scripts can also be written in C++ or C#. And in this case, this CGI program communicates with Technomatic's plan simulation. And we use for this communication the COM interface. This is available now for all application, for all license types in plan simulation. And so you don't need one additional, for instance, interface package. And so we have 3 steps here. We need a front end. Here we need to configure the HTTP server that the HTTP server is calling external Python scripts as CGI program, and this we need to configure. And this is my example configuration. We have a browser, and as HTTP server, I have one Apache server, and for this Apache server, Python runs as a fast CGI script, and the COM interface to communicate with Technomatic's plan simulation. You need a lot of preparations to make this, and I use for such developments a so-called WAMP service, WAMP package. WAMP stands for, the W is the web server, A stands for Apache, M for MySQL or Maria database, and P is PHP. And you can download this, for instance, as WAMP server. This is a fully pre-configured application. And then you have, for instance, the Apache server on your computer system. The second is you need to set a system variable in your operation system. The system variable is, is Salt license server. And here you need to set the path to your Siemens license server. And the newer versions is on port 29000 and that and your server name. And this needs plan simulation to find the right license when Python starts plan simulation. And then we need some configurations in the Apache server. So I change here. This is my WAMP server here, Apache, and we need some adjustments in the HTTP conf file. This is the configuration of the web server. And there's one area where you configure the CGI scripts. Oh. Okay, I have this in my right. So I have it here in my presentation. Somewhere there's the area for CGI bin. This is where you need to install or place your CGI scripts. And you need to add one handler for .py for the Python scripts. The default file extension is CGI, and here you can add py as default file extension for Python scripts. Okay, next you need to prepare a blind simulation model. I have a very simple model here behind. It's just a source, station 1, station 2, and the drain. And then the next step is to prepare our website. So you can do this with AI, for instance. This is a really simple HTML file. And in this HTML file, we have one form. And with action, you set the destination for the request. And here's important, this doesn't go to the default folder of our web server. It goes to a subfolder CGI bin. And then I have here a file startplansim1.py. And this is important for the web server. The web server knows, okay, CGI bin is a CGI script. And for this Python script, we need to define the path to the Python interpreter in the first line, and then the HTTP server will call the interpreter and hand over this script to the interpreter to execute it. I have two input elements here. Input is a simple text input, proctime1 and proctime2. And the Apache server will hand over this data to the Python script here. And I can open this in a browser. Okay. My HTTP server is now running on localhost. And I have here one virtual host with the name Plansim, a lot of data, and start data Python HTML is my file, and this is my front end. It's just a simple formula, and I can take here some times in. And with clicking submit, this data will be sent to my Python script. So it's a lot of preparation necessary to bring this to run. And now I change to programming. And this is very important. First, you need to set the path to your Python interpreter. This is just the default installation on my computer here. It needs to start with route and exclamation mark. I don't know this in English. Okay, and this is the path to the interpreter. To use the, I need some modules from Python. I need to import CGI. This is not anymore part of the basic installation of Python. And so you need to install Legacy as CGI to be able to use the basic CGI functions in Python. CGI-TB is for error handling in this Win32.com we need for communication with plant simulation. And I need time. Wait. One problem if you develop such web server applications is that you find the debugging information in the log file of the HTTP server. And so you need to switch between your programming and the log file of the HTTP server to see what happens if the program isn't running. So first I want to read the data that the Apache server is sending to this application. And for read the data, I need the CGI here. And I can do this with form. With field storage, I get access to all the data from the HTML formula, and I create two variables. For ProcTime1. Okay, this is the way I read the values of these two fields from the web formula, the data type here is string. And this I need to consider later. Next, I want to connect with plan simulation. The command is dispatch, and I need to hand over a text for the COM server that it's finding the right application, because a lot of applications are offering COM access here in Windows, and this is Technomatics. Point plan simulation together. Point remote control point, and then main release number and version here. 2201 is 22.1 here. I need to I need to program this with this older version, because my newest license file does anymore support the PLM license server. And so I cannot use this here in this case. And now I can access a lot of methods that you can find in the help. I want to load a model. This is necessary because without this command, you cannot load a model from your computer, and it's very difficult to find the right position where you can place this file in the web server, and you need to discuss this with your system administrator because of the security of the web server. And so there are only some places where you can place real files that you can open from inside the server. The method we need is load model, and we need to hand over the path. And I need to mask all the special characters here. Oh. Okay. This is my server root here, WAMP 64 www. This is the server root, and I have placed my file here in the server root, but it is not the best place. And normally you have one special folder to place in, and your system administrator need to set the right permissions in this folder that Plan Simulation is able to start there something. So now the model is loaded, and I set first the proc times of the two machines. And Plan Simulation offers for this the method setValue. I need to specify the correct attribute. And this is point models, point model, point station 1, point proc time. This is the attribute I want to set, and I need to change the data type here into int. And this I want to make also for the second station. And this is proc time 2. There's an underline missing. This is small. Okay. Oh, 2 times proc time 1. Okay, now. So, and then I can start the simulation. And here I need to specify the event controller of the model. And this is point models, point model, point event controller. And we need a second parameter 2. And then we need to wait for the end of the simulation because the HTTP protocol doesn't wait. It just waits for a response here. And so I need to wait first for the end of the simulation. Before I'm able to send the response to the web server. And this I can do with a loop. Okay, I'm missing double point here. Okay, in this way we can wait for the end of the simulation. Is simulation running? Is returning false if the simulation is still running, and if this is true, it returns true if the simulation is still running, and if it's become false, then I exit this loop here, and the only command inside the loop is just wait for 1 second, and then this I and here I switch. This is too much to write. Okay, here we have this running of the simulation. It's wait until the simulation is finished, and then I start to write the content I need to send to the HTTP server, and this is again HTML. This is the start of the site. Here, plan simulation is the title, and then I need to read the results from plan simulation. And here we have in the COM interface the method getValue, and I need to specify here the attribute I want to read. For instance, train stadnum in, and this I just write into the stream of the HTML code here. I write just the results into the stream. And then I need to close the model in plan simulation and close complete plan simulation. And this is the end of the website. Okay, and now I can make a test here. Only need to find the right site here. And at the end, I set 1 and 1 as value. Then I press submit. In the background, the simulation is running, and then it returns the throughput of the experiment. It was 3,598. I can go back, make 10, and I should become less output. And now it's only 358. At the end, nobody sees a plan simulation. It opens without any graphic. It opens completely in the background of the web application, and we close it in the back application, the background, and the only we see here is the result. Yes, and now the challenge is to make it more affordable, more nice looking. But this is the basic concept behind how to integrate plan simulation into a web application. Any questions?
We got one thumbs up, and there's one in the comments. Are you able to get to it? Or I can read it. I'll read the first one, I guess. Alphonse is asking, can the Python function run in normal Python web backend with an API like Fast API? That would be a more usual web approach.
Yes, you can access plan simulation in each Python application, you only need to access the COM interface. So you can use Python wherever you want. And I personally don't want to choose Python for create a web application where I have plant simulation in the background. There are better options in the servers than Python. Python is quite slow. But yes, you can access plant simulation in each Python application. All right.
Okay. So there's another question below that one. Are we going to display the simulation graphics in a browser in the future? So he gave a detail, he said the interactive manner like a desktop application.
There is one. This is Optimize My Blend, and there is interactive desktop application, interactive application made with, but it's also a web application with Mendix. But I guess plant simulation will keep a desktop application and will not be a fully web application in the future. I don't know. I don't believe it, because we need a lot of processing power. And if you run an application in a web browser, then the web browser itself takes a lot of processing power, and it's not good for the performance of plans of simulations. But I don't know. Maybe in the future it's possible.
We got a thank you, so that's good.
Yes, but you can bring almost all contents from plant simulation to the web, to a web browser. We can all what you want. The only one you cannot bring to the web browser is the complete simulation and let it running dynamically. This is not possible. But all inputs and all outputs you can bring to a web page, but not within a half of an hour. Your approach, my approach works since, you need to check if you need the interface package. I am not sure since when the COM interface is not part of the interface package anymore. Maybe 16, there is still the COM interface part of the interface package, but since 22.01, you can use it with all license types. Is it possible to preview the model and animations in HTML? You can export the model as file, as picture at any time in the simulation, but it's static. It's not with animations, and you don't have special, you can record videos, but it's not the same like to see the animations live in plant simulation. Maybe in the future, I don't know what the future is bringing here in this application. Is it possible to make this communication work with the EXA Pack and Go? No. This is restricted, quite restricted, and the Pack and Go package doesn't include all the functions of plant simulation. This is because to make the EXA smaller, and so you have not all functions in the Pack and Go. And you need a license for this. This is what I showed at the start of this presentation. You need to set a variable to the license you use, and without license, no, it doesn't work.
There was the question above, I don't know if it got answered, about can we use something other than CGI? Okay,
I go back to my presentation. Yes, you can, But if you don't want to use CGI, then we need to use one of these programming languages. I have another webinar prepared for PHP. It works very well together with the Internet Information Services, but C#, for instance, is much faster than PHP. And if you need to use the Internet Information Services, then it's the best is to use C# or ASP.NET. And for the Apache server, the first selection for program web applications is still PHP, or for Apache Tomcat, Java Server Pages, or directly Java if you use Eclipse. But I don't think you are free to select a web server in intranet environment. So you need to ask your your administration people for, and then you can select. Then they will select a web server for you, and with the web server, it's clear what you can use directly for a programming language.
So there were a few clarifications there. So that the question was just for the web form, and then he wanted to use PHP instead of CGI. Or can you use PHP instead of CGI?
Yes. PHP doesn't run as CGI. PHP runs as an integrated module in Internet Information Services. It's not running as CGI, never. Because it's another way to write web applications. In PHP, you embed your programming into a PHP code, into HTML code, and CGI, it's the other way. You write a program and then you create dynamically the HTML file, HTML code. And so it's easier to make it in the other way. And in the other way, it makes the same as with Java Server Pages and with ASP.NET and C#.NET. Along with PlanSim objects, can we interact with PlanSim Python modules using this approach? Never tested this. And you can look into help, and in the help you find the amount of commands the COM interface supports. And I guess you can call from SimTalk Python methods. Yes, this should work. So yes, indirectly it should work. Can we use the functionality in the education or student version lessons book? Yes, theoretically, the COM interface is it should work with the education license if you have this Siemens license server, because you need to set the path to the license server that Plan Simulation finds the license, but it's the COM interface is available also for education and student versions. So theoretically, yes, should also work.
Good, and we got a thumbs up there for that answer. So seems good. I'm going to give everyone a moment to think of another question while I steal the screen share to show the web page. Someone did ask in the chat earlier about where they can find the video for this later. So if this is your first time attending one of these sessions, you may not have been to this URL yet, which you can click on the screen. It's there. That's the Siemens Plant Simulation Virtual User Group. So that's what you see on the screen. That's a screenshot of the page. And there's an animation recommending that you follow the topic by clicking the follow button and then selecting every post. If you do that, you will receive an email each time we post on that URL. And the only things that are posted there are invitations to our live sessions and recordings for the live sessions, and then occasionally questions on one of the recordings. So if you discover a question later that pertains to this topic or another plant simulation topic, you can always mention Stefan in the forums and ask about what has been discussed here. And the other thing on this slide is our next 2 sessions. So the next meeting is on Wednesday, April 23rd. The topic is how to create a lift based on a conveyor. And then Stefan will walk us through another Python topic on Wednesday, May 7th, which will be database access using Python. So those should be quite useful to you if you're wanting to hear more about Python. And the last thing I wanted to share, which Stefan reminded me earlier, is about Realize Live. So you may or may not know that the annual customer event for the Siemens PLM community is called Realize Live. It occurs in the Americas, Europe, and then in Asia. Realize Live Americas is first. It's coming up the first week of June in Detroit, Michigan. So it's a 4-day digital transformation exhibition and training conference for all Siemens software users. And Stefan is definitely going to be there. You're doing a session on Python as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, at that location. So in the US, and there's some details there. There's also a link there where it says click here. You can click there right now if you want to get to that page before I go to the next slide. So you have it in your browser, because the next slide is about Europe. So Realize Live Europe, which is basically the first week of July, so about a month later, 4 weeks later, is exactly 3 days, but there's an entire day dedicated to Technomatics plant simulation. And so you can also click the link there if you're interested in going to Europe and finding out more about the Plant Simulation Day. I haven't been to this one yet. This will be my first time. Stefan, what would you tell people about the Plant Simulation user track?
Yes, a full day, I guess 17 presentations, and there's also, I guess, a presentation about Plant Simulation and Omniverse, because it's the Omniverse connector is now finished, and we'll start with the version 25.04, which is coming out this month. And so you will find also a presentation about this topic at Realize Live Europe, and also in US, because there's someone from Siemens that's showing all the new functions of plant simulation there.
Okay.
So you find the session with Omniverse in Realize Live Europe in Amsterdam.
Nice. So that answers Vinay's question about that. That sounds good. Well, giving another moment of silence if anyone has questions or would like to raise their hand. But if not, we will be ending 5 minutes early.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We'll see you in the forums.
Goodbye.
Bye.